Punctuation is an important part of sentences. There are a lot of punctuation in a grammatical book if you really look into it. However, in English technical writing, we do not use all of them. I would say the most often used or the most frequently used is comma and period. Period is needed for any complete sentence. Comma is needed a short break or pause. Apostrophe to show the position, paper's title, author's address. You use prime or apostrophe for plurals, say 3 Y's. We can say in this equation there are 3 Y's. On the other hand, you do not use prime or apostrophe if it is a capital letter. For example, A. Okay, you can write a question like that. Then you have a 3 S. Another application of prime or apostrophe is a contraction. Don't means do not. We also have, remember, can't. And in this is international. That is not encouraged in technical writing. Not use apostrophe for omission of letters, which you can use apostrophe to save your space, but you are not encouraged to use for formal writing. Okay, you don't need to write down all authors' contact information. So this may be this writing is not recommended because you have this one. This is not recommended, but this one is okay, right? Because you have no better choice. Add the prime at the end. He wrote 3 I's in the same equation with different meanings. It's also for plural. Okay, there are 3 edges. Basically, you want to replace all the edges with, for examples, colon, just like 2 dots. Okay. They're used for number, time, and the colon acts as a pause and may catch the reader's attention because of that cause. It's like, okay, the steps are listed as follows, or something like that. Okay. Okay, one example here. This shows the pause. Engineering research project should meet 2 criteria. You see, you listed 2 criteria, then you pause here, and 1, there is an and. A graduate thesis should contain at least 5 parts. Same idea, you just list all of them. There is a colon. You may use this already in your writing, but just to point it out, refresh your memory. You can use this for time. You use a colon in between hour and minutes. And this is for the ratio. So that shows the ratio. Okay, you can see that this add up to be 100. So then you can say this is a percentage. I believe these are pretty simple and straightforward. Once you know it, you know it. Okay? If you don't know it, you sometimes make some very little errors. Don't use the following for colons. Don't capitalize the word immediately after colon, right? You already see that. For example, this are all lowercase. Again, let's look at examples. It's wrong because there is a colon after include. The reason is include is a verb. Correct writing would be include enzymes, acid, or everything. Okay. And this manuscript may be submitted to, then you prepare for the list. This is wrong. And it should be, it's a very clear. Similarly, here you have such as, okay. Anyway, the blue ones, correct? You try to use this, okay. Comma and period are most frequently used in technical writing. A period ends a sentence, and a comma provides only a very short, brief pause. Comma's function is more than a pause, includes a pause, but more than that. It can link independent clauses, introduce elements, enclose elements, have quotation, and separating items, clarifying and contrasting meanings, and indicating omissions. See, comma can also indicate omission. You can use comma replace verb. That's basically what I mean by omission. So it's grammatically correct, but it chops the sentence into pieces. It is grammatically correct, but the omission may cause confusion to non-native readers. I'm not saying it would cause problem to native readers or those who knew it. Both are correct. However, the second one is clear. When you have an independent clause, for example here, your description of procedure is clear, but you omitted the key specifications of the devices. See, there is a comma in front of, but comma can be used in close non-essential. Remember, they are non-essential, but doesn't mean they're not important. If the element in close were removed, if it were removed, the rest of a sentence is still valid. Okay, and the primary idea survives the removal. Non-restrictive clause, which is, there is a comma here, conclusions. The research team, you can see that both are for enclosure. Okay, you can take it out. Primary idea is still there. Non-essential elements as a positive phrase, just like this, the only book. Okay, then what is the book? The book is called Gone with the Wind. It's more like elaboration on the idea, just for clarity, right? If you remove that part, the main idea is still there, but it's not clear what the book is about. There are interrupting words or phrases. Therefore, just give it a pause. You also use two commas. So this kind of enclosure slows down the reading. It's very nice for pace control. However, it breaks the continuity. Again, it is for pace control. There is a comma right after, however, want to prove. Similarly, for example, okay, this is a stronger emphasis on what you're going to present. We also use comma for a pause because it is a long phrase during the final step of the pilot test. The cobalt, blah, 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 okay? Pilot test finished, and we realize this is a short introductory. There is an and, you can remove it because it's a short, right? The reason is, again, a comma mark offers you a short break. It's a brief pause. If it is so short at the very beginning, you don't need a pause. If you have it, it's okay. You also use it for introductory clause. It's similar to that, but there is a coordinating word. This sentence is trying to emphasize the reason, not the fact that the professionals choose who to give the ventilator. All right. A sentence begins with introductory elements may change the emphasis. For example, in pilot test, you could add a comma here, but that's optional. Okay, why? Because it's short. You don't need a break. You don't need a pause. You just started and then you pause, right? In pilot test, comma is used for separating parallel elements. Right now, a very high level example, A, B, and C. This comma, most writers do not include this one. They believe A, B, and C is acceptable. Grammatically, both are valid. However, you want to choose this one. This is not recommended. So the comma before the last element can be omitted occasionally, you see. However, including improves clarity. For example, Apple, BlackBerry, Huawei, and Samsung were the leading smartphone producers in the world. There's nothing wrong grammatically with this sentence. But if you consider this is for international audience. They may never heard of Huawei before Huawei become a global, the brand. They may think, oh, maybe you wrote this by mistake. You are talking about 1, 2, and 3. This 3 is another company called Huawei and Samsung. If that was the case, then this sentence is grammatically wrong, right? Okay. Then the reader may have to stop here. What is this, a company or 2 companies? 3 or 4? Of course, you didn't make any mistake in writing. It is their misunderstanding of what you wrote. However, if you put yourself in their shoes, all this confusion was caused simply by the omission of comma here. That's why you need to consider punctuation. How do you make it clear? This is clear. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. It's just clear. You add a comma here. That is the right way to write technical articles for the international audience. This is already easy. Sometimes if you have a longer elements, for example, if you have a phrases, to complete this course, students must, okay, now I'm going to list 1, learn something, 2nd, observe, 3rd, give a presentation, 4, okay. You can imagine if you do not use this guy, you say, give a presentation to the class and submit the final report by email. Right? Really long elements, then the reader may know if this is 1 task or 2 tasks. You also need this one. Otherwise, akin to serving the students and the faculty members, all those things, right? There are 3, okay, again, 3 elements, 1, 2, and 3 elements. Without that comma, it's going to be a mess. Comma are commonly used with addresses, dates, and the numbers. For example, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's unit separated at each 1,000. That's how we write in English. Many other countries use different punctuation marks. For example, they use period. Some even don't bother use anything, but they leave a space in between. In China, we write like that. We don't have any comma. As long we count it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you have a comma. For example, this 1,234-page document was released on April, so there is a comma for date. There is a comma between, this is a city, this is a province, this is a country. When you write address, write from city to province to country. You do not need to use comma for the following cases. Okay? You don't want to insert a comma anywhere you feel like you need a brief pause. You cannot challenge the grammatical rules. Don't insert comma between the key elements of a sentence. Okay? That is sometimes a lot of a non-native speaker think that emphasize what follows. Instead, it is called comma intrusion. For example, this is wrong. The director of the laboratory and the administrative staff are responsible for A. This is B, right? A and B. You just told me when there is add, you want to add this one. How come this is wrong now? Okay. What I said is, if you have A, B, and C, but if it is only B and C, you do not need a comma. You just remove it. The principal investigator designed that apparatus and give. You were reading here the PI. Naturally, you missed this PI. To correct it, you simply say the PI and. Okay, and he gave a demonstration. It is also correct. If you add he here, this comma is needed. This is easy. This is wrong because you don't want to have another one. All right, continue from here. Commas should immediately follow conjunctive verbs. Otherwise, it becomes a comma splice. We know that the first one is wrong. This is the answer I already gave you. Now move on to dashes. Okay, dash, use occasionally. A dash is a short line longer than hyphen. So this is a dash, this is a hyphen. Okay. It can stress on linkage, separation, emphasis, and informality or abruptness. Hyphen is used primarily in compound words. It also has a linkage. For example, state of the art. In technical writing, you use this a lot. Some hyphenated words are standard. The others are only for your writing. Okay, you can create new if they are not available in dictionary. So when you have multi-word modifiers, you also need a hyphenate. For example, well thought of. Well thought of means respectful, very good. Okay. Series, for example, you have 2, 3 words, which means this one. Okay. We also use a prefix, pre-mixing, which means before mixing. Semi-industrious, re-enter. You do have this kind of words a lot. Even what I just told you, pre-combustion, in combustion, post-combustion, which means before, during, and after. Use a hyphen with caution to avoid ambiguity. You're going to see that right now. The city of Waterloo is investigating the feasibility of a biochemical waste management facility. Okay. I underlined biochemical waste management facility, biological waste management facility, or biochemical waste management facility. So this is the ambiguous. So you want to use a hyphen to clear that. Option 1, waste management. It is a waste management facility by using biochemical process. Or you can say it is a biochemical waste management facility. Parentheses and brackets. Parentheses, a round bracket. Sometimes we call it a round bracket. So usually they need it for definition or preceding. The materials in the parentheses can be removed. Information contained in the parentheses is non-essential. Again, it is needed for clarity, but you can remove it without impairing the idea. For example, pre-combustion, which means prior combustion. Okay, post-combustion means after combustion. This is for definition. There is an M, so that gives you PM. Later on, you're going to keep writing, then you use PM is something. You do not have to keep writing particular matter. Okay, so that's one function for definition. Okay. When do you not use the parentheses? I'll give you one example. This is duplication or interruption. Try not to use it. You see that a lot in agreements or contracts. It's legal documents. In technical writing, you do not need this. It's redundant. How do you mix parentheses with brackets? If you have something like this, sometimes it's a little bit annoying. I'm not saying it's completely wrong, but it's not encouraged. However, most of the time you use parentheses to enclose brackets rather than the other way. Okay, so this is correct. Dot, sometimes I call it a dot because it is a dot, but its function is a period. It ends a full sentence, but more than that, it's more than a full sentence. You use it, for example, the abbreviation, the numbers, etc., and the decimal points. Do not end a sentence more than one period mark. You may say, how come I have 2 marks? Why do I need 2 marks, right? For example, if your sentence ends with etc., etc. itself must carry a period. Then if you put another period here, you will have two periods. That is a mistake. Similarly, here, if you have AM already, you do not want to have another period mark there. It creates problem because a lot of abbreviations come with a period mark already. Question mark, we can skip it because we don't use it a lot. Quotation mark, again, not very often. However, you got to be careful with the punctuation. Okay. Quotation mark sometimes is used for a meaning called so-called. Many people believe that hydrogen is a zero emission fuel. You put it into the quotation mark to tell other people that it may not be the case. You also can use titles in quotation marks. For example, thesis, you can use, or you can use italic font. We're going to talk about that in the formatting. So basics of combustion, that's one chapter. So this is the book. When you have a chapter in the book, you use a quotation mark for the chapter, but not for the book. Okay. Punctuations, your quotation mark, this is a little bit tricky. Comma and periods are always enclosed inside the quotation mark. Colon and semicolon, they're outside. Semicolon used to improve clarity and control the pace. Again, it is control the pace. The pause is like between the effects of a comma and period. So semicolon means a longer pause. You separate two independent clauses, but keep in mind they are of equal importance. Okay, when you have a semicolon. For example, then you use a semicolon for a brief pause before you start listing the elements. Conjunctive verb, for example, therefore, use a lowercase after semicolon. COVID-19 has caused anxiety in Canada. The government reaction did not help much at the very beginning. A semicolon may also separate elements in series. Okay, now we're talking about the series, the parallel structure. Okay, it avoids the confusion and achieves smoothness of thought. The co-authors of this article are, I used semicolon and semicolon. Why do I use that? Because I used comma here. Imagine if you use a comma, you have how many commas? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commas, right? But in reality, it is 3 elements, right? So that's why you do. However, if you do not have the address included, you still use a comma, but and. This is 1 element.